A young woman with short black hair stirred awake, her blue eyes wide with confusion as she clutched a yellow smartphone. Beside her, a green-haired young man asked if she had woken up, prompting her to wonder about her surroundings. A sense of unease washed over her, a silent plea for him not to think ill of her, as if her own twisted desires were spiraling out of control. This unsettling vision presented itself. The black-haired woman, now adorned in a vibrant idol costume, sat provocatively on the lap of the green-haired young man, who was bound and helpless. The scene was framed by a bold declaration, hinting at a narrative of a stalker idol, whose every action was for the sake of her captive. In a stark contrast to the previous unsettling imagery, the idol Nanami Moko stood on a brightly lit stage, her long dark hair with blue streaks flowing as she thanked her adoring fans for attending her concert. She bid them farewell, urging them to take care on their journey home. The concert's success was evident at the merchandise booth, where signs proudly declared many items sold out, a testament to Nanami Moko's popularity. Later, a young man named Sora, with reddish-brown hair, beamed with satisfaction as he scrolled through his phone, reflecting on the concert. He declared it the best live performance he had ever witnessed, though a fleeting thought crossed his mind about wishing Moko would wear more revealing outfits. He then noticed something on his phone that piqued his interest. He found himself in a heated discussion with a friend, who wore glasses and a cap, about Nanami Moko's image. His friend vehemently defended Moko, asserting that she was perfect as she was a pure and cute ultra-orthodox idol who performed at small live houses despite her growing success. He dismissed Sora's desire for sexy clothing as completely unreasonable, stating that no true fan would ever wish for such a thing. Sora, however, silently fumed, believing that such preachy otakus should simply cease to exist. The argument continued as Sora passionately explained his unwavering dedication to Moko, declaring that his ultimate goal was to become Moko's living expenses, a path he had chosen willingly, even if it meant sacrificing all his possessions. His friend, however, questioned his excessive spending on Moko, suggesting he should consider other idols. Unbeknownst to his friend, Sora's phone lay on the table, actively recording their entire conversation. Later, Sora arrived home, announcing his return. His sister, whose back was to him, greeted him and asked him to put his clothes in the wash. In his room, Sora began to put away his belongings, realizing he had gotten quite sweaty at the concert. As he searched, a growing dread washed over him. He discovered that his prized Moko t-shirt, a limited edition of only 20, personally designed by Moko herself and costing 60,000 yen, was missing. The worst part, he lamented, was his own carelessness in losing such a valuable piece of merchandise. Sora sighed, deciding there was no use in overthinking the loss. He resolved to inquire with the staff at the live house the following day, still picturing Nanami Moko on stage, thanking her fans. He stood among the crowd, a sea of eager fans, as the idol Moko performed on a brightly lit stage. An announcement echoed through the venue, reminding those with tickets for the private event to line up for a special photo opportunity. He felt a surge of frustration, his face contorted in a pout. The staff had not had his special t-shirt, forcing him to wear a common one. It was a disgrace, he thought, to be dressed like any other ordinary fan. Still stewing in his discomfort, he spoke with his friend, character_E, about the sold-out special t-shirts. He had expected them to be gone, but the reality was still a shock. He considered checking options, but ultimately decided he would rather directly support Moko. His friend then offered him a last online ticket, asking if he wanted it. He took the ticket, and the conversation shifted to the possibility of someone stealing his lost shirt. His friend dismissed the idea as too extreme, but he couldn't shake the feeling. He wondered if he had simply forgotten it, yet he had noticed a pattern lately, losing small items like pens and erasers. As his friend was called forward for their turn, he felt a growing unease. He had been feeling as though someone was observing him lately, a persistent, unsettling sensation that put him on edge. Moments later, it was his turn. He approached the idol, Moko, who greeted him with a wide, joyful smile, exclaiming his name, Sarakuin. He thanked her for receiving him, and she reciprocated, thanking him for coming. She leaned in close, her face beaming, and asked if he had noticed her waving at him from the crowd. He was flustered by her proximity, his mind racing. Moko was so cute, he thought, but the intensity of her gaze made him feel profoundly observed. She playfully chided him, remarking on how noisy he always became when talking about concerts. He tried to deflect, feeling awkward about his plain t-shirt, and mumbled that nothing was wrong, despite her observation that he looked a bit down. Then, she pointed directly at his shirt. "Sarakuan," she said, "you're wearing a normal t-shirt. You always wear that special, rare one." A wave of panic washed over him. She had noticed his lack of the prized merchandise. He stammered, trying to explain, but she pressed further, asking if he was going to support another idol. Before he could fully respond, a manager stepped forward, holding a special Moko plushie. The manager offered it to him, explaining that they had a few extras, and it was the least they could do to compensate for his support. Sora, surprised, accepted the unexpected gift. On stage, the idol Moko beamed, her eyes sparkling with gratitude as she addressed her devoted fans, asking them to continue their unwavering support from that moment forward. Her heartfelt words resonated deeply with Sora, who stood beside his friend, tears welling in his eyes. His friend gently told him there was no need to cry, while Sora, overwhelmed, declared Moko to be truly angelic, feeling foolish for having fussed over a lost limited edition shirt. His resolve strengthened under the starry night sky. Sora internally vowed to support Moko until she performed at the legendary Budokan. As he and his friend walked away from the venue, the friend remarked that while the grand stage of the previous day was impressive, the cozy atmosphere of the fixed live house shows also held a unique charm. Their conversation continued, with Sora's friend noting that there had been an increase in radical fans lately, and while Sora might be a senior Moko otaku, anyone would be jealous of how Moko treated him. He then asked Sora what he intended to do about his stalker. Despite his friend's concerns, Sora dismissed the idea of a stalker, confidently stating that he had a heart as big as Moko's, implying his devotion would protect him. His friend, though still somewhat skeptical, conceded that perhaps it would be fine. He then declared his intention to tweet about the concert, wanting the world to know about Moko's splendor. His friend immediately warned him that such actions could fuel a stalker's hatred. Sora paused, a worried expression crossing his face, realizing the potential escalation. Suddenly, his thoughts were interrupted by a more immediate concern. He had lost his phone. His friend, ever the worrier, suggested the stalker might have taken it, but Sora quickly dismissed the idea, believing he had simply forgotten it at the live house. Just then, a faint ringing sound began. As the phone continued to ring, his friend quickly pinpointed its location, asking if it wasn't in one of his pockets, if it wasn't in his bag. Sora, however, knew the sound wasn't coming from him. Following the sound, he looked towards a nearby building, his eyes widening in surprise as he saw his sister peeking out from behind a wall, holding his ringing phone. She stood before him, her face etched with distress, clutching his lost phone. He stared back, his expression a mix of anger and disbelief, as she cried out, insisting without another word. She turned and fled, clutching the phone tightly. He immediately gave chase, shouting for her to stop and return his device. She proved surprisingly swift, her small form darting away with unexpected speed. He struggled to keep pace, reaching out desperately, urging her to hold on. The chase ended abruptly as she stumbled, falling forward onto the ground. He, unable to stop his momentum, tumbled over her, landing awkwardly. Both cried out in pain from the impact. They lay sprawled on the pavement, her cap having come loose and resting beside her. She looked up, her eyes wide with surprise, as the phone lay discarded nearby. As he slowly pushed himself up, she stared intently at something beyond him, her expression shifting from surprise to profound shock. Then, a single name escaped her lips, filled with an unexpected urgency. Moko. Moko, with her hair in a braid, found herself on the ground, looking up with wide, startled eyes. A baseball cap lay discarded beside her. He stared down at her, his own eyes wide with shock, calling out her name in disbelief. She remained frozen, her expression a mix of surprise and apprehension. He quickly tried to explain, denying whatever situation she might be imagining, while she remained seated on the ground, looking away. He then questioned why she was even there. Still trying to clarify the misunderstanding, he held up his phone, insisting that things were not as they seemed. She, however, grew increasingly distressed, attempting to cover her face as she vehemently denied the situation, her voice rising in panic. He reached out, gently taking her arm to try and calm her, reiterating that this was not what she thought, nor was it part of any plan. She remained visibly upset, her hands still covering her face. He continued to try and get her attention, but his mind drifted, recalling the very first time he had met Moko. It had been a year ago, at a small idol festival. During that festival, he had watched her perform on a modest stage. There were only a few people waiting for the next idol, and Moko, despite her best efforts, had hardly any audience. Yet, in that harsh situation, seeing her pour her heart into the performance, he felt his own heart stolen in an instant. Later, Moko, still in her school uniform, seemed surprised when he approached her, asking to meet. He immediately rushed to a staff member to purchase a special favors ticket after her performance concluded. With an overwhelming burst of enthusiasm, he clasped her hands, declaring her performance absolutely magnificent. She looked utterly bewildered by his intense praise. He continued to gush, explaining that he had never been particularly interested in idols before, and had even been forced to come to this event, but he was now genuinely glad he had witnessed her performance. She, still taken aback, tried to gently urge him to calm down. He listened intently as Moko declared her intention to attend every one of his scheduled live performances, starting from the next one, and vowed to support him fully. His surprise was evident as he could only utter a bewildered sound. Following her declaration, their hands met in a firm shake. She thanked him, promising to do her best. Over time, he continued his dedicated otaku life, meticulously collecting all types of limited-access CDs and idol goods. He often dreamt of the day Moko would become a top idol, believing his efforts were helping to complete that vision. Suddenly, the scene shifted to the present, where he found himself inexplicably tied up. Moko, leaning over him, explained that everything she did was for his sake, for Sarakuin. He, however, could only question why he was bound. She then showed him her phone, displaying a gallery of images, and asked if a particular one was his favorite. He wondered how Moko knew such personal details, his gaze then falling upon a bag filled with his own merchandise. He gasped in horror, realizing the items were a series of his lost belongings. Moko, now dressed casually, explained that she had been collecting his things, doing her best to retrieve them. She clarified that his personal items were not for sale, describing her actions as love group work. She also asked him to stop taking pictures. He stared, utterly bewildered by the phrase, love group work, demanding to know its meaning. He also pondered Moko's statement about not being okay to take pictures, wondering if she was a truly dangerous girl. He then blurted out, asking if she liked him, which caused Moko to become flustered. She quickly denied it, apologizing profusely for the misunderstanding. At that moment, the manager arrived, ready to explain the details. The manager confirmed her role, stating that she always took care of Moko, referring to her as her little sister. Still tied up, he was taken aback by this revelation, observing that they didn't look similar in the slightest. He remained tied, his thoughts racing back to Moko. He understood now that before things spiraled completely out of control, he needed to get her permission. Meanwhile, the manager continued to explain the unusual circumstances, stating that Moko could not perform as an idol at all without this stalking, and without his permission. She then turned to him, asking if his dream was to help Moko perform at Budokan, which he hesitantly confirmed. The manager had brought him here, assuming he would readily grant permission, but he was utterly confused, demanding to know what she was talking about, finding the situation unsettling. The manager clarified that by stalking him, Moko was able to continue her work as an idol, and he, in turn, provided crucial support to Moko. She then proudly declared that she was providing for Moko-chan's very being, proclaiming it to be the best. Moko, listening intently, reacted with a gasp of surprise, realizing that Sora had been completely unaware of their win-win situation. She internally wished she had never learned that particular detail. Still bewildered, he protested, stating he didn't understand why they were suddenly asking for permission, questioning if they truly believed he would simply agree. Moko looked on, her expression pained, as the manager added that many people desired to be chased by Moko, even if it wasn't him. A sudden, overwhelming realization struck, it's no good. He looked on, startled, as Moko turned away from him, prompting him to call out her name, Moko-chan. She then turned back, tears streaming down her face, confessing that it was because it was him, other people simply wouldn't do. She explained her profound anxiety, stating she couldn't help but feel that way if she didn't confirm he was cheering exclusively for her. Standing over the still-bound Sora, Moko, with a mix of desperation and conviction, declared him to be her #1 fan. She tearfully confessed that her journey had been possible only because she had met Sora, and that her entire career would be meaningless if he were not there. He stared wide-eyed as her words echoed in the room, a profound realization dawning on him. Still weeping, she clarified that she understood he wouldn't demand anything in return for the items he had received, like the t-shirt. She then revealed that he had forgotten his smartphone at a live performance, and she had considered copying data from it. He turned away, demanding to know what she had just said. She calmly reiterated that it was acceptable to stalk him. He quickly corrected her, stating he was not referring to the stalking, but to the idea of copying data from his smartphone, which he found unsettling. He conceded that merely checking something might be acceptable, but not if it meant she was cheering for someone else. He then declared his unwavering belief that Moko could become a top idol. He began to say that to cease being a fan because of such a thing was an incomplete thought, but then added that he did not wish to contend with the very person he cheered for. Overwhelmed by his words, Moko immediately began snapping rapid-fire pictures with her smartphone, labeling it her secret technique, superfast shutter. She apologized, claiming she could no longer contain herself, and boldly declared that now, as an officially acknowledged stalker, everything was perfectly fine. She even mused if it was a disease, a condition where she might perish if she failed to capture images. Sora looked utterly distressed. Moko, however, held up the rope she had used to bind him, a mischievous smile playing on her lips. She thanked him, explaining that with his consent, she could now freely continue her stalker, idol activities. She then casually revealed that she had recorded their entire conversation, possessing undeniable proof of his agreement. She also mused aloud about needing to find a method to permanently preserve the rope. Moko, holding a selection of men's underwear, pondered if these were the daily concerns of a popular idol. Her sister's voice then cut through her thoughts, announcing that breakfast was ready. Her sister, standing in the kitchen, reminded Moko that it was Monday and they were having toast, urging her to hurry. Moko, however, seemed hesitant about the simple meal. A sudden realization struck Moko, causing her to dramatically hold up a pair of the underwear. She concluded with certainty that Sora-kun would likely wear them today. Her sister, unfazed, simply told her to eat her breakfast. Meanwhile, Sora-kun walked through the school hallway, his shoulders slumped and a heavy sigh escaping his lips, clearly burdened by something. He sat dejectedly on the floor, reflecting on how he had inadvertently given Moko permission to stalk him out of pity the previous day. Later, staring blankly out a classroom window, he found himself unable to concentrate on his lessons, resigned to his situation. As he stood by his locker, his friend, Glasses Boy, approached him, calling out his name. Sora-kun internally reaffirmed his belief that true fans should admire idols from the stage, without meddling in their private affairs. Glasses Boy then asked if he planned to attend Moko's performance later that day, to which Sora-kun confirmed his intention to go. Glasses Boy observed that Sora-kun had been unusually quiet since yesterday, and had been sighing excessively all morning, prompting him to question if something significant had occurred. Sora-kun, meanwhile, glanced at his phone, which displayed messages from Onimo Sora. With a look of shock and anger, Glasses Boy confronted Sora-kun, accusing him of using an excuse to go home early yesterday when in reality, he had spent the entire night with that girl. Sora-kun reacted with stunned surprise. He continued his furious accusation, lamenting that Sora had never mentioned finding a real woman, and was now strangely unresponsive when the topic of Moko came up. Sora-kun tried to interject, insisting that Moko was indeed real. Unconvinced, the bespectacled boy scoffed, questioning the reality of the situation and speculating that Moko might be orchestrating something. As Sora-kun tried to process his friend's skepticism, his mind drifted back to the live event. Moko, vibrant and energetic, commanded the stage, singing to a cheering crowd. Sora-kun, caught up in the moment, joined the fervent chants of Cyber Fiber, Tiger Fire, alongside other fans, urging her to enjoy the performance until after her performance. Moko graciously thanked everyone for attending, her smile radiant. Sora-kun, still present at the event, observed her, a thought forming in his mind. He recalled seeing her room yesterday and acknowledged her peculiar nature, realizing that while she appeared to be acting as usual, she would undoubtedly attempt something. He resolved to remain vigilant. Despite his resolve to be on guard, Sora-kun found himself walking home, reflecting that nothing unusual had occurred, even during their departure. Suddenly, his attention was drawn to a photo on his phone, depicting him and Moko in a peculiar fusion pose. The sight jolted him, confirming that the little kidnapping from yesterday was not a dream, but a real event. Glasses Boy, standing nearby, also looked at the image with a bewildered expression. Back at his own home, Sora-kun stood in his room, visibly distressed by the recent revelation. Moko was already there, casually holding one of his shirts, her presence a stark reminder of the blurred lines between his fan life and personal space. She turned to him, her expression thoughtful, as if contemplating her next move. Moko's sister held up a piece of clothing, a pair of underwear, towards Sora-kun, who recoiled in visible embarrassment. Moko watched the unfolding scene with a curious gaze. She then loudly confronted him, causing him to flinch and attempt to flee. Catching him, she pointed an accusing finger, demanding to know why he was being so harsh and questioning his actions. Still fuming, she gestured emphatically towards a pile of underwear on the floor, angrily exclaiming that he had messed up her schedule by not informing her he had purchased new ones. Sora-kun stared, utterly bewildered by her outburst. He tried to rationalize, insisting there was no reason for her to possess his underwear, as they were merely undergarments. However, a sudden realization dawned on him as he looked closer, understanding they were, in fact, hers. She held up another pair, reiterating that they were just underwear. Sora-kun internally mused that his mother had bought them for him. Meanwhile, Moko's sister, now tearful, used a piece of underwear as a handkerchief, while Moko, observing from a distance, wondered if they were golden underwear. The revelation struck Sora-kun with a jolt, and he stammered, questioning if his mother was involved. Moko's sister simply looked at him, her expression unreadable. He then frantically explained that while his mother had indeed bought them, he usually purchased his own, finding it incredibly embarrassing for a high schooler to have his mother buy his underwear. Moko's sister, engrossed in her phone, unexpectedly praised Sora-kun for his kindness towards his mother, seemingly misinterpreting his embarrassment. He internally despaired, unable to believe that his mortifying situation had somehow created a positive impression. Defeated, Sora-kun slumped to the floor, declaring that he no longer cared what would happen. Moko's sister, in a gesture of what she called consideration for his mother, stated she would not inquire further about him wearing new underwear. However, her tone shifted as she turned to him, posing a new, direct question. How did he know about her new underwear? At that moment, Sora-kun found himself lost in thought, imagining himself alongside his beloved idol, forming a heart with their hands. His thoughts then drifted to Moko's sister, bewildered by her apparent knowledge of his schedule. He mused that he must always be on guard around her, recalling the shock he felt when she mentioned his lack of new socks, a purchase he hadn't made in over a month. He pondered this. Moko stood before him, her feet adorned in frilly socks. She declared that wearing Sora-kun's belongings filled her with a sense of determination, making her feel as though she could conquer any challenge. He, however, found her explanation for wearing his underwear to be a gross exaggeration. Then, with a slight lift of her skirt, Moko revealed the idol-themed underwear she wore, proclaiming that she donned Sora-kun's undergarments specifically for her live performances. The revelation sent a jolt of pure shock through him, leaving him speechless and questioning the bizarre reality unfolding before him. Still reeling from the revelation, he stammered, asking if she was indeed referring to his underwear. She quickly clarified that the total amount of his underwear had not decreased, implying a more complex situation than simple theft. With a bright, almost mischievous smile, Moko held up a pair of underwear. She cheerfully explained that she had been taking his used undergarments, soaked with his scent, and replacing them with brand new ones, considering it a generous service. It was no wonder, she thought, that his underwear never seemed to wear out. The full horror of Moko's actions dawned on him, particularly the implication that his mother was involved in purchasing the replacement underwear. He remembered buying the original pair, thinking the unique pattern was tacky, a sentiment he had almost voiced aloud. Just as Sora-kun grappled with this disturbing realization, Moko's sister abruptly appeared at his window, her voice cutting through the tension as she called out to Moko, reminding her that it was almost time to leave. He flinched, startled by her sudden and unexpected presence. She continued, informing Moko about a session scheduled for the next morning. Sora-kun, still reeling from the earlier revelations and her sudden appearance, tried to interject, demanding to know where she had come from, but she completely ignored his protests. As Moko's sister prepared to exit through the window, she casually mentioned having parked the car below. Sora-kun watched her go, utterly bewildered by the entire situation and the peculiar actions of the two sisters. He watched as Moko's sister, with a bright smile, declared she would return again, specifically through the window. He wondered internally if she truly failed to grasp the fundamental concept of using doors. Meanwhile, Moko, exasperated, urged her sister to leave already. She insisted it would be better if her sister stopped buying her own underwear, citing her devastatingly poor sense of style. Left alone amidst the scattered underwear, he sat dejectedly, pondering Moko's harsh assessment. He quietly questioned if his choices were truly that tacky. Sora, Moko's devoted fan, eagerly watched her live stream, which was just about to begin. He anticipated seeing her in her favorite casual clothes, a stark contrast to her usual stocking attire, finding the thought exciting. On screen, Moko, her sister, and Glasses Boy were visible. As the stream began, Moko appeared on screen, looking visibly unwell. She weakly greeted her audience, asking if everyone was healthy, a question that seemed ironic given her own condition. Going back in time to the morning of that same day, Moko was engaged in a photo shoot. She posed confidently, holding a small gift box, as a photographer directed her to face a certain way, remarking on how good the shots were turning out. She then addressed the photographer directly, while Glasses Boy observed the session from a distance. Another assistant stood nearby, ensuring everything ran smoothly. The photographer praised her, noting that compared to their last session, she had managed to put a much better expression on her face. Glasses Boy then approached Moko, seemingly wanting to speak with her. Meanwhile, Sora beamed with happiness, thinking about Moko, his #1 fan. She too seemed to be in high spirits, having achieved something significant. His friend, Glasses Boy, looked on in surprise as Sora declared, with a triumphant grin, that he had officially become Moko's stalker. Moko, now in her casual attire, observed Sora and Glasses Boy from a discreet distance. She reflected that while she had previously checked on Sora-kun and his friends' movements through social media, things were now different. She had managed to install a GPS tracking application on Sora-kun's smartphone, giving her a more direct and constant means of monitoring his location. She reflected on how the time spent searching for Sora had been wasted, but acknowledged that her stalking methods had become more advanced since she had picked up his smartphone. She then observed Sora and another boy entering a record shop. Her expression shifted to one of shock and confusion. She wondered why he would be at an audio store, as she hadn't published any new songs. Spotting him inside, she quickly understood his presence and rushed forward, desperate to discover whose CD he had come to check. Meanwhile, inside the store, Sora and his companion stood before a display featuring Ruka-san, the popular third-ranked gyro idol, known for her friendly attitude and alluring physique, whose new release was now on sale. Her eyes widened in horror as she saw Sora holding Ruka's CD, questioning aloud what was happening and why he would be interested in such a selfish body idol. He then turned, a bright smile on his face, and announced his intention to proceed to the checkout with the CD. Her despair was absolute, her face contorted in a silent scream as she clutched the shelf, surrounded by an aura of shock and heartbreak. Elsewhere, Glass Boy spoke with Moko's sister, acknowledging her explanation about Moko's strange state after the live stream, but pressing for the underlying reason. He pressed her further, questioning why she thought it was acceptable to enter through the window as if it were normal, especially given the previous intrusion, even if the lock had been open. She, in a chibi-like form, retorted, asking if he shouldn't be suggesting she go to the hospital first before asking for explanations, a point with which he silently agreed. Moko's sister, holding a mask-like object, inquired of Glass Boy which specialist would be appropriate for a certain case. He acknowledged her question deep in thought. She then sat on the bed, turning away from him, while he leaned over Moko, who was asleep, calling her name with concern. Meanwhile, Moko, still asleep, was plagued by internal turmoil, her mind fixated on the transient nature of human feelings, a concept she found unhelpful in her current state of distress. Moko's sister explained to Glass Boy that Moko's strange behavior began after she completed her daily, stalking routine, implying this was a normal part of her day, yet she was worried about Moko's state since that evening. He pressed her, asking if anything special had happened that evening, but she insisted nothing out of the ordinary occurred, only admitting that she went to buy a CD with Take. Elsewhere, Sora, holding a CD of the idol Ruka, suddenly realized with a jolt that Moko might have seen him purchasing it at the store. Moko lay on her bed, visibly distressed, while Sora stood nearby, his expression etched with concern. Moko's sister, observing the scene, reflected on Moko's usual routine and how she had been acting normally after finishing her work. She wondered how Moko could have known about the situation, musing that people's feelings were momentary and that this world was a concrete jungle. Yet she herself didn't know what had truly happened. Sora, meanwhile, expressed his worry, stating he had been concerned for Moko all evening. He continued to ponder the cause of Moko's distress, recalling that nothing particular had happened that evening. He then remembered a specific instance. Perhaps it was when he was buying a CD with Take. As he held up the CD, a sudden realization dawned on him. Perhaps Moko had seen him buying it. It was the one featuring Ruka, and a sense of betrayal echoed in his mind, as if a voice accused him, "I trusted you." The accusations intensified, manifesting as small, angry chibi figures of Moko's sister assailing him. They cried out, "You said you were loyal to me. I trusted you," leaving him overwhelmed and shouting in distress. The relentless assault continued, with the chibi figures declaring that sisters were merely a small pile of breasts, and that he was counting Moko's sister in that category as well. They condemned his actions as a cruel betrayal, asserting that in the end, men only desired large breasts, while he desperately pleaded for them to stop with the breast bias. Amidst the chaos, one of the chibi figures of Moko's sister cried out, asserting that while she might not possess prominent breasts, her legs were certainly noteworthy. Moko, now sitting upright on the bed, her eyes welling with tears, posed a direct and challenging question to Sora. She asked him to whose legs were better, Ruka's or hers, if he had to pick. Sora, still standing, looked utterly bewildered by the unexpected query, while Moko's sister continued to cry in chibi form. He internally panicked, questioning why he was being made to say such a thing so suddenly. After a moment of hesitation, he reluctantly offered his answer, suggesting, "In Moko-chan's legs, I think." Moko's sister, observing the interaction with a stern expression, warned Moko not to get too excited. Despite the warning, Moko beamed with unbridled happiness, her face flushed with joy. Moko's sister, now in chibi form, watched Moko's sudden surge of happiness. She mused internally, acknowledging that Moko's mood had lightened up considerably, but a lingering feeling persisted that something was still missing from the situation. She hissed, telling Moko to stop making things worse. She questioned if Moko truly believed Kuu-chan wouldn't betray her, just because he met her preferences. Her exasperation clear, Moko's sister exclaimed in frustration. Moko, looking utterly shocked, asked if she truly thought so. In response, Sora leaned in close to Moko, declaring with fervor that he would never betray her, promising to always be loyal, just as before. Moko, flustered by his sudden proximity, wondered about this intense, fighting spirit he was displaying. Moko, with a determined glint in her eye, announced that it was time for Kookwin's honest love statement. Sora stood awkwardly amidst the display of idle merchandise, his expression one of deep discomfort. Meanwhile, Moko's sister held her phone, a thoughtful expression on her face. She then sat down, listening intently to something playing on her device, the screen displaying a music player interface. As she continued to listen, Moko's sister mused that Moko was, in fact, undeniably cute. Sora, standing before Moko, began to speak, his words initially indistinct. Moko, eager, urged him to speak louder, wanting to hear him declare his love for the girl that I really like, that I've finally found the right one kind of princess. He then shouted his passionate declaration, proclaiming his love for the person I love the most in the whole world. Moko's sister, still listening intently, urged him to be louder, wanting to hear about the one who will stay with me forever. With tears streaming down his face, Sora screamed, "I love you," directly towards Moko's sister, who continued to listen, her phone held close. Moko's sister, blushing deeply and flustered, thought that if she set this recording as her alarm, it would be the best one ever, despite the intensity making it sound like the worst. She noted the fighting spirit Sora had displayed. She then turned her attention back to Sora, who remained visibly distressed. With a demanding expression, she instructed Sora to hand over the proof of today's scandal. Sora, covering his face, hesitated, beginning to speak about the CD. She then mentioned his friend Take, who was seen with the assistant, discussing the limited edition CDs, noting they were limited to 3 per person, even though the store was selling 4 types. She listened intently as Sora confirmed his statement, a slight smile playing on her lips as she processed his words. For a brief moment, it seemed Moko's misunderstanding had been resolved, the case closed. Yet a quiet thought lingered, that wasn't mine, suggesting the truth remained. However, the resolution was short-lived. She stood beside Moko, who looked on with a puzzled expression as she held up a phone, questioning if the message displayed was from Take. The implication was clear. The idol CD issue was far from over. He clutched his own phone, a look of growing despair on his face. The screen revealed messages from Take, inquiring about his availability for a live concert featuring Ruka tomorrow at 5 p.m. in Shibuya, even offering to share notes if he attended. Sora internally lamented that he felt compelled to go to Ruka's live performance. As he grappled with this new predicament, Moko's sister maintained her stern gaze, while Moko herself watched him with a worried expression, both awaiting his explanation. Her eyes widened in shock, and she instinctively covered her mouth, a sudden, dramatic realization dawning upon her. A mysterious hooded figure, her face partially obscured, stood before Sora, who was engrossed in his phone. She warned him that misfortune would befall him if he did not give her details about it. Meanwhile, Glasses Boy and other students were seen in the background, seemingly oblivious to the strange exchange. He reacted with shock, demanding to know if his precious Nanami Moko DVDs would truly burst into thin air, as she claimed. She confidently declared that she would take responsibility and exchange them with new edition DVDs, holding up several copies as proof. Despite her assurances, he still struggled to understand the situation, while she calmly stated that the world worked in mysterious ways, and he need not worry, even if his items were to disappear. Still bewildered, he muttered about his plans to attend a live performance. The hooded figure, now standing beside a small table laden with items, listened intently. He then questioned her, asking if it was truly acceptable for his purchased items to be destroyed, and if they held no sentimental value to her. She vehemently refused his implied request, declaring that he shall not pass. She explained that she had already replaced most of his belongings, including a shirt and underwear, with new ones, implying that he had lost nothing of personal value. She reiterated her demand, instructing him not to go to Ruka's live performance and to return straight home, asking what more a person could want. As he considered her words, she internally pondered if Kukin might not want to satisfy himself with her back home, or if he simply might not want to see her. She continued her internal monologue, questioning if a normal girl would do such a thing, and then declared that this was the essence of a maiden's heart, asking herself to stop trying to represent all maidens in the world. He then bluntly told her that Kukin was truly hopeless if she didn't try to understand a girl's heart, adding that if all the girls in the world were like her, that would sound like a good thing to him. She reacted with a surprised gasp. He then asked her what kind of image she had of high school students, suggesting that they usually say something like, "I want a girlfriend." His words left her stunned, as a realization seemed to dawn on her. Still reeling from Sora's previous statement, she asked if he would truly stay single forever to be her supporter. Internally, Sora considered the idea of supporting her for a lifetime, but admitted it sounded like a bad idea. He then responded, explaining that if she thought about it, no one would want an otaku who would be a burden or make his parents sad. He appreciated her sentiment, but urged her to take her life seriously. His bluntness left Moko momentarily stunned. His thoughts drifted to a future where he had a girlfriend who would cheer on Moko alongside him, finding joy in their shared enthusiasm. He even imagined getting married and having children who would also join in cheering for Moko, concluding that such a life would be wonderful. With a bright smile, he declared his intention to find someone who would cheer on Moko with him. Moko, still in her hooded disguise, looked surprised but then returned his smile, agreeing to cheer him on in his endeavor. She watched him walk away, her expression softening from surprise to a gentle smile, before she raised a hand to wave goodbye as he departed. Moments later, Moko gasped in dismay, realizing Sora had truly gotten away. She lamented that she knew this would happen if he went to the live performance. Meanwhile, Sora walked with Take, discussing the upcoming live performance and confirming he would be there when it started. Back at home, Moko's sister engaged Sora in conversation about Moko's music, pointing out a particularly cute moment in a music video and noting the difficulty of a specific melody. She proudly showed him her t-shirt, proclaiming it to be Kukwin's Moko shirt, while Sora acknowledged her, thinking about Moko's female supporters. He then imagined himself falling in love, before shifting his focus to Moko's fanbase. He observed that 90% of Moko's fans were male, contrasting this with Ruka, who, as a fashion model, attracted many female fans. He concluded that Moko needed more female fans to truly reach the top. As Sora walked alone, a female student in a school uniform abruptly stepped on his foot to get his attention. She apologized for the intrusion and politely asked for his cooperation with a survey. Sora looked up, surprised by the encounter. The student, who was conducting a survey targeting high school students, was revealed to be Moko's older sister. He found himself in an awkward situation as Moko's older sister, still in her school uniform, suggested they go somewhere, noting the abundance of items. He felt a blush creep up, thinking her suggestion somehow suited him. She then pointed decisively, declaring the chosen spot looked nice. The place she indicated was a Heartsuit Hotel Heartsuit. She calmly offered that he could take a break there while answering her questions, a proposition he found to be an extreme distraction. Sora tried desperately to escape, insisting he had other plans and pleading to be excused. However, she grabbed him firmly, assuring him it would only take a few minutes for a couple of questions. He vehemently protested, declaring that a mere couple of minutes in such a place would feel like an eternity. He continued his frantic resistance, questioning what might happen if they were to enter the establishment together. With a shadowed expression, she inquired about his implication of something happening, then quickly dismissed his concerns, asserting that absolutely nothing would occur. She laughed off his worries, telling him to stop speaking, as if he understood the situation. He then asked if she couldn't simply stop if he didn't want to continue, but she replied that it was not as simple as it sounded. She explained her unwavering resolve, stating that she couldn't refuse Moko-chan's request, because she was so cute when she asked for help. She revealed she had even borrowed a school uniform specifically to distract him, believing it to be a straightforward plan. Sora stared at her, still processing her words, as she admitted that despite his perception, she had indeed tried to resist the request. She confessed to possessing a stubborn side, especially when Moko-chan had pleaded for her help with such earnestness. Moko's older sister, with a fierce expression, declared she would not allow her stupid sister to attend the live event, vowing to stop her. Sora, caught in the escalating conflict, found himself dodging her, as she now wielded a stun gun. He wondered why he always ended up in such situations when trying to see an idol, feeling a sense of déjà vu as he recognized the dangerous weapon. She blocked his path, sternly proclaiming that he could not pass. Nearby, Moko lay on the ground, seemingly zapped, clutching a large, round object, as her sister referred to her as the boss. The scene abruptly shifted, with Sora and Moko's older sister now facing two police officers who questioned their permit for a makeshift stall. He looked utterly bewildered by the sudden turn of events. As the bizarre confrontation continued, Moko's older sister pushed him away, warning him of danger, while Moko, holding what appeared to be a large, deflated balloon, apologized profusely, promising to clean up the mess. Observing Moko on the ground, surrounded by the concerned police officers, Sora realized her elaborate schemes were utterly futile. Seizing an opportunity amidst the chaos, he broke free and sprinted towards the live house, its entrance now visible around the corner. He cursed his opponent for the wasted time, determined to reach his goal. But his escape was short-lived. Moko's older sister, alongside Moko, confronted him once more, the sister firmly stating they would not let him go, while Moko wore a surprisingly hopeful expression. He screamed in utter frustration as Moko's older sister once again apprehended him, his hopes of reaching the live event dwindling. He collapsed to the ground, utterly defeated, only to look up and see a screen displaying the crushing message, "This event has ended." Moko, standing beside him, confirmed the live event was indeed over. He averted his gaze, a slight frown on his face, as Moko looked at him with a gentle, knowing smile. He then asked Moko why she seemed so dejected, questioning the depth of her admiration for Ruka. She looked down, her expression somber. Moko explained that her strong feelings stemmed from Ruka's work as a fashion model, acknowledging that Ruka didn't have many female fans. She held up a magazine featuring Ruka, emphasizing her point. Sora wondered if Ruka's efforts were meant for him, while Moko continued, detailing Ruka's hard work and diverse activities. He then confessed his desire to see Moko shine as an idol, admitting that was why he had tried to attend Ruka's live performance. Turning back to Moko, he expressed his gratitude, but asked what she expected him to do now. With a radiant, determined smile, Moko declared that making him happy was her job. He was taken aback by her directness as she elaborated on her ambition to work even harder and become an idol adored by both boys and girls. She leaned closer, her face flushed with a confident, happy smile, and asked him to only look at her. He recoiled slightly, flustered by her bold declaration, a sudden realization dawning on him that the normal Moko was, in fact, still an idol. Meanwhile, Ruka finished her work, thanking her staff for their efforts. Her assistant instructed her to wait while he retrieved the car, to which she cheerfully agreed. Ruka, now outside, swayed slightly, prompting her assistant to ask if she was drunk. Moko, undeterred by Sora's flustered reaction, pressed closer, her gaze unwavering as she reiterated her resolve to become an idol, fueled by her admiration for Ruka. Sora, overwhelmed by her intensity and proximity, instinctively tried to create distance between them. Meanwhile, Ruka, having just stepped outside, received an unexpected message or call that mentioned Moko. Her expression shifted to one of surprise and concern as she processed the information. A young woman, her dark hair falling around her shoulders, began to dress, pulling on a plaid top. Her thoughts drifted to Sora-kun, wondering why he had not attended the after-party. As she continued to adjust her clothing, pulling up her plaid skirt, her mind lingered on Sora-kun, questioning who the girl with him had been and if such a person had always been a part of his life. In her room, she reflected on a promise Sora-kun had made, asserting that she would not allow him to forget it. She acknowledged her current living situation with another girl, but insisted that since he came to see her on stage, he needed to watch her perform. Suddenly, her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. A woman in a business suit stood there, prompting the young woman to ask if she was heading straight home. The woman in the suit inquired about Moko, to which the young woman, with a determined expression, declared they would charge right in. Meanwhile, Moko reacted with a startled expression, her eyes wide with surprise. A girl with light hair tied in pigtails sat on the floor, looking back as someone addressed her, asking, "Mizuki, are you free?" Mizuki, surprised, turned to see another girl with dark hair smiling and pointing, asking what she wanted. A third girl with short dark hair stood nearby, observing the interaction. The dark-haired girl, Mizuki, smiled brightly, extending her hand and introducing herself. She expressed her anticipation of working together in a unit. A younger girl named Ruka, 15 years old at the time, stood with a sullen expression, acknowledging Mizuki's sentiment with a quiet "me too." Later, someone drank from a bottle, while outside, a live house venue was visible, suggesting a performance had just concluded. Mizuki, full of energy, exclaimed that live performances were the best, while Ruka sat beside her, engrossed in her phone, offering only a non-committal hug. Ruka continued to ignore Mizuki, who looked disheartened by what she perceived as Ruka's horrible attitude. Mizuki tried to reason with Ruka, suggesting that being angry wasn't cute, and that their company's policy required them to smile as idols. She then asked if Ruka was still upset. Mizuki looked increasingly frustrated by Ruka's continued silence and unwavering focus on her phone. Ruka, still looking at her phone, with a poster of Mizuki and another girl in the background, declared her intention till she reflected on her past aspirations, recalling how she had always wanted to be a model, not an idol. She felt she couldn't simply smile on command, a fundamental requirement of the idol profession. A magazine cover featuring a smiling Mizuki and another girl lay nearby, a stark reminder of her current path. As these thoughts weighed on her, she peered cautiously through a gap in the curtains, observing the world outside with a quiet intensity. Moments later, Mizuki embraced her from behind, her cheerful demeanor contrasting with Ruka's sullen mood. Mizuki questioned the fundamental difference between models and idols, finding the distinction unclear, which only served to annoy Ruka further. Ruka, visibly irritated, sharply challenged Mizuki's casual assertion that models were inherently better. Mizuki, undeterred, explained that models simply got to wear many cute clothes and received abundant praise from their fans, implying a superficial difference. A sudden realization dawned on Mizuki. If that were the case, weren't models and idols essentially the same? Ruka, however, looked increasingly distressed by the comparison. Ruka vehemently rejected Mizuki's conclusion, her voice rising in protest. She insisted there were crucial differences Mizuki simply didn't understand, emphasizing that the comparison was incomplete. Despite Ruka's passionate arguments, Mizuki merely laughed, playfully reiterating her belief that the two professions were, in essence, identical. Ruka, frustrated, told her to be quiet. Mizuki then shifted her approach, a bright smile gracing her face as she pointed, explaining that idols possessed a unique power. Their smiles could make others happy. She suggested this was a significant positive aspect of being an idol, prompting Ruka to listen with a hint of curiosity. Ruka looked down, a faint blush on her cheeks, as she quietly acknowledged the truth in Mizuki's words. Smiling was, after all, a fundamental part of being an idol. Internally, she dismissed Mizuki's idea as stupid, yet a small, involuntary laugh escaped her, betraying the subtle impact of the conversation. She found herself at an event, observing a young fan who beamed with joy, exclaiming gratitude to Mizuki for inspiring her to pass a test, lose weight, and even find the immense power idols held, a power Mizuki had spoken of. As the fan continued to gush, asking Ruka to share some of her pretty girl aura, another young woman approached, shyly recognizing Ruka and mentioning her own plans to confess to a crush soon. Ruka, forcing a bright smile, encouraged the fan, telling her she was rooting for her. The fan was overcome with emotion, feeling confident about her confession, but Ruka's smile quickly faded, revealing her internal struggle. She internally questioned why she had to smile for these strangers, finding the act irritating. Just then Mizuki appeared, her own smile radiant, and told Ruka that she too could achieve such a smile if she truly tried. Suddenly, the world shifted. A phone screen displayed shocking news. Idol model unit Mizuki discovered to be in a relationship with an otaku, fired from affiliated agency for contract breach. Her eyes, wide with disbelief, stared at the devastating report. Moments later, a message arrived on her phone from Mizuki. It apologized for the sudden news, explaining that she had to quit, but urged Ruka to continue being an idol. Ruka could only stare, utterly stunned. As she sat alone, Ruka reflected on the situation. She knew Mizuki was not the type to break rules, and she learned that an otaku had gone to great lengths to get close to Mizuki. Mizuki had been invited to a dinner with other idols, which had turned out to be a mixer, leading to the discovery. Her expression hardened, hidden behind dark sunglasses, as she muttered a curse against that otaku. Tears welled in her eyes, mixing with a fierce anger. She vowed never to forgive him, for his selfish actions had cost her one of her most precious friends. She found herself back at the Tokyo Idol Party venue, but things were different now. Her unit had been dissolved, and she had begun performing as a solo idol. Her name, Ruka, now appearing alone on the schedule. Despite her new solo career, Mizuki's words echoed in her mind. I want Ruka to continue being an idol like this. She pondered the weight of those words, wondering if this was truly the last act of her idol journey. The thought brought a wave of despair, and she cried out, lamenting the gloom that had fallen even on her, the last act. A male fan nearby, with short blonde hair, looked on, his expression somber, perhaps understanding the depth of her idol's sorrow. Overwhelmed, she sat alone, her head bowed, questioning what she should do next. Later, she sat on a bench, letting out a deep sigh. Beside her, another girl, with dark hair tied in pigtails and wearing a school uniform, also sighed heavily, sharing in the palpable sense of weariness. Suddenly, both girls looked up, their eyes wide with surprise, as if startled by an unexpected presence or realization. The girl with pigtails quickly introduced herself, apologizing profusely, Nanami Moko. Ruka, still startled, recoiled slightly, and demanded to know who she was. Moko, now more composed, recognized Ruka, exclaiming that she was the girl who had frozen up during rehearsal the previous day. Ruka, in turn, seemed to recall the name, Nanami Moko-chan, and greeted her, good to see you again. As Moko looked down, Ruka, sensing her companion's continued distress, gently inquired if her sighing was still about her performance during yesterday's rehearsal. She sat, her hand resting on her leg, a quiet affirmation escaping her lips, as she processed the weight of Moko's confession. Her thoughts drifted to Moko's past struggles, recalling a moment where Moko, seen from behind, confessed to a group of male colleagues that she felt inadequate, constantly nervous on stage, and worried about the audience's perception. Moko continued to confide in Mizuki, lamenting her inability to attract fans and the painful reality that being an idol, which she once loved, had become a source of suffering. She apologized, feeling she was not serious enough, while Mizuki, listening intently, internally grappled with her own similar thoughts of quitting, feeling she was not the right person for the role she aspired to. Back in the present, Ruka grappled with Moko's confession, realizing she needed to offer some thoughtful advice quickly. She wondered what Mizuki would say in such a situation, seeking guidance from her former partner's imagined wisdom. She tried to conjure a thoughtful expression, her face contorting into an exaggerated, almost comical smile as she questioned if simply smiling was the answer. Her attempt at a thoughtful smile was met with Moko's gaze as Ruka struggled to articulate her thoughts, admitting her vocabulary was poor and that Moko's way of speaking was unusual. Unable to find the words, she resorted to a more direct approach, gently pinching Moko's cheeks to physically form a smile on her face, much to Moko's surprise. Moko, surprised by the sudden gesture, questioned her intentions, asking what she was doing. Ruka, however, continued to emphasize the importance of Moko having fun and smiling, and not worrying about the people around her. She then demonstrated a radiant, genuine smile, explaining that an idol's smile possessed a unique power capable of drawing people's attention if one put their best effort into it. Inspired, Moko attempted to replicate the smile, her expression still a little stiff. She acknowledged Ruka's words, stating she understood and would try to have fun, but then added a cryptic remark about not having much time left, leaving Ruka with a look of concern. Moko was startled, letting out a small gasp as Ruka, seated casually, looked back at her with a knowing expression, declaring, "Now then." Moko remained confused, her finger touching her cheek as she wondered aloud what had just happened. Ruka, still observing her, offered a non-commit alone. Ruka's thoughts drifted to a past moment with Mizuki, who beamed with a genuine smile, her fingers pressing into her cheeks, expressing heartfelt gratitude. She then recalled her own words, spoken with a bright, confident smile, about the inherent power of an idol's smile to make those in front of them smile too. A soft, knowing smile graced Ruka's lips as she continued to reflect on this profound realization. Later, in a quiet hallway, Ruka stretched her arms wide, a sense of newfound purpose filling her. She mused that she had learned something important from both Mizuki and Moko, and resolved to step out with a smile, just like that. As she considered her path forward, a deeper realization dawned on her. Accompanied by a fleeting image of Mizuki holding hands with another girl, perhaps she liked girls, or something akin to that. Elsewhere, a young man with wide, shot eyes exclaimed in disbelief, "That's it?" Expressing frustration that so many pages had been used for such a conclusion. He stood in a hallway, looking somewhat deflated. A summary of recent events revealed trouble had arisen with Ruka, the idol, as she grew suspicious of a relationship with Moko. But then, Ruka's own sexual preference was revealed, leaving everyone uncertain of what was truly happening. For some reason, he found himself standing before the entrance to a live house, a venue for Nanami Moko, feeling a mix of apprehension and determination. Inside, he was tasked with taking pictures of Moko, who was performing. Meanwhile, Mizuki crouched nearby, observing the scene. However, when Mizuki reviewed the photos he had taken, she was aghast. The images were incredibly blurry, almost unusable. Despite the poor quality, Mizuki offered a small smile, reminding him that when uploading photos to social media, one must be careful about reflections of light. He buried his face in his hands, apologizing profusely, as Mizuki pointed out that he was shaking too much, causing the picture of Moko to be so blurred. She also mentioned that someone had secretly come to play with a certain idol after her live today. His panic escalated, exclaiming that the situation was terrifying. He worried that not only would thousands of Ruka's followers see his terrible photos, but they would also be looking at him, not the pictures themselves. Mizuki tried to calm him, assuring him that she knew some of the staff, so it was probably fine. She found his extreme reaction to a simple photo overblown, but also questioned if it was truly appropriate for him, a lone otaku, to just enter such a place. Her tone then shifted, becoming more direct as she asked if he and Moko were dating. She warned him that if he were doing something like that, as an otaku, he should know the consequences. He stammered, trying to deny any such relationship, emphasizing that there was no way they would be dating. Without waiting for further explanation, Mizuki grabbed his arm, her expression stern, and issued a clear warning. He was not to get any closer to Moko-chan. He recoiled, the words of Mizuki echoing in his mind. People like him were nothing but trouble. The accusation felt like a heavy weight, a scary truth he couldn't escape. Meanwhile, Mizuki continued her search for Surakuin, navigating the building with a determined frown. She couldn't find him anywhere, wishing he would simply tell her his location, especially for someone like her who was trying to help. She checked her phone, scrolling through social media, but nothing related to him appeared. Then, a thought struck her, perhaps he had posted something on Twitter around this time. As she scrolled, a photo of Rukasin caught her eye, but something about it seemed off. A sudden flash of insight, like lightning, illuminated her mind. She zoomed in, her gaze fixed on Ruka's eye. Within the reflection in Ruka's eye, a tiny, unmistakable figure appeared, Sarakuin. The realization hit Mizuki with a shock, her mouth agape in surprise. Moments later, Mizuki burst through a door, exclaiming that she had found him. She declared with absolute certainty that the silhouette, with its distinct facial features, was undoubtedly Sarakuin. Ruka, standing nearby, looked on with a mixture of surprise and disbelief, muttering that it couldn't be true. Sarakuin, caught off guard, felt a surge of panic. He knew he couldn't openly admit that Moko was an idol, as it would surely jeopardize her career. He wondered if he was truly being stalled by Moko, or if this situation was simply a misunderstanding. He wrestled with the dilemma, weighing the consequences for Moko against his own predicament. The scales of his internal conflict tipped precariously, each side demanding consideration. Turning to Ruka, he tried to explain, stating that there were certain circumstances at play, but his words trailed off, unable to fully articulate the complex situation. His incomplete explanation only fueled Ruka's frustration. Her face contorted in anger, her fists clenched tightly, making it clear she was truly furious. Her rage still burned, and Ruka demanded to know the details of the spoon incident, questioning the protagonist about what it tasted like, and why he hadn't told her. She accused him of barely holding on, asserting that his close proximity to Moko, allowing her to feed him, must have been pleasant. She dismissed his attempts to explain, declaring that nothing he said was getting through to her. He, in turn, tried to clarify that while there were things happening, it was not as she perceived, and there was nothing romantic between him and Moko. Meanwhile, Mizuki confronted the protagonist, demanding to know why he was with Moko. Moko, having finally found them, also questioned him, expressing her annoyance at having to search for him at such a complicated time. Mizuki continued to express her admiration for Moko, praising her cuteness and charm, even calling her an angel. The protagonist remained flustered by the situation, while Ruka observed the interaction with a surprised expression. As Ruka watched, Moko, now face-to-face with her idol, beamed with excitement and gratitude, thanking Ruka for coming to her live performance that day. Ruka, blushing, seemed genuinely pleased by the adoration. Moko was overwhelmed by Ruka's close proximity and pleasant scent, wondering if Ruka had read her tweet. She tried to calm herself, realizing she had just encountered a real idol. Ruka, still blushing, thanked Moko for coming and promised to contact her next time. Moko, beaming with delight, invited Ruka to her dressing room for their next meeting. The protagonist, observing their interaction, struggled to maintain his composure. He found the close proximity between Ruka and Moko to be incredibly difficult, realizing his attempts to remain calm were failing, and only a small portion of his thoughts could be articulated. Ruka, having overheard the protagonist's internal thoughts about Moko, turned on him again, her anger reignited. She demanded to know why he had put his hands on Moko if he liked her, asserting that if he and Moko were dating, it meant she was totally free to pursue him. Moko, overhearing Ruka's outburst, was utterly shocked to learn that Ruka believed she was the protagonist's girlfriend. Ruka, realizing her mistake, quickly tried to clarify that the protagonist had only been helping her out. Still reeling from the previous revelation, Moko's thoughts raced, questioning if Ruka's office was truly okay with romance. She then realized the implications of someone wearing a wig and glasses, understanding it must have been difficult to maintain such a secret. As Moko processed this, Mizuki, with a knowing wink, shushed her, promising not to tell anyone about the secret. Moko remained wide-eyed, still in shock. Meanwhile, Ruka, who had been observing the exchange, appeared deeply distressed. She questioned Sarakuin and Mizuki, asking if Moko-chan and Amano Sora were truly a couple, expressing her pain at having to cheer for the person she liked with another. Mizuki, however, laughed off the accusation, emphatically denying that she and Sarakuin were dating, stating it should be obvious. Ruka remained in the background, still visibly upset. Ruka, still overwhelmed, reflected on how much the world had changed around her. She pondered the 2-year age gap between them, struggling to understand why they seemed so close, almost like a new breed of human. Seeing Ruka's distress, Sarakuin bowed deeply, offering a sincere apology. Mizuki then stepped forward, clarifying that while she couldn't delve into the specifics, Sarakuin was merely supporting her emotionally, and they were not in the romantic relationship Ruka was imagining. She pleaded for Ruka to believe her. He continued his apology, expressing regret for acting in a way that could have caused such a misunderstanding. Ruka, still processing the information, thought of Moko, recalling how worried she had been about being a perfect idol, and how she would never betray her fans. Mizuki looked at Ruka, who, after a moment of contemplation, finally stated that she understood and believed her explanation. Ruka then prompted Mizuki to continue, and Mizuki, relieved, offered a heartfelt thank you, a gentle smile gracing her lips. Mizuki, still seemingly oblivious to the full extent of the misunderstanding, cheerfully declared that Sarakuin could now go out with her without any worries. She mused internally that this was her first time being part of a lover's quarrel, while he reacted with a flustered expression. Her words, however, only intensified the distress of Moko, who cried out, desperately pleading for them to fix this misunderstanding as well. Sarakuin, caught in the middle, internally pondered the fine line between stalking and mental care, wishing Mizuki wouldn't push such a burden onto him. Unbeknownst to the trio, Ruka, the sister, observed the entire unfolding scene from behind a slightly ajar door, her expression unreadable. A calendar marked a 3-day weekend, a rare opportunity for solitude as his parents were on vacation and his older sister had club activities. He lamented that Moko wasn't having a live stream, but still anticipated a peaceful time. With the house to himself, he planned to enjoy Moko's DVD on the living room's big screen, confident that nobody would bother him. Humming a cheerful tune, he made his way towards the living room, ready to begin his relaxing weekend. His plans were abruptly interrupted when a young woman, noticing he was still in his pajamas, questioned his attire and the large quantity of cup noodles he was packing, demanding to know what he was doing with 3 days' worth of meals. She urged him to hurry and get ready. Holding up a cup noodle, she declared with a bright smile that everything was ready and it was time for them to go. Moments later, he found himself playing a video game, a title reading, Inno Stalking Inno Life. If you cover one eye, an idol's aura disappears, as he muttered for someone to stop. Meanwhile, a woman with long dark hair addressed a crowd through a megaphone, announcing that it was a sunny day blessed with truly wonderful weather. She stood on a stage, moderating the 58th number 1 stalker battle, and asked the assembled crowd if there were any objections to the proceedings, implying that they couldn't help but accidentally stalk somebody. The crowd responded with a resounding, no objections. Amidst the event, the young man from earlier found himself tied to the enthusiastic young woman with a rope. He cried out in confusion, asking what was happening and who she was, as she passionately chanted, "No stalking, no life." The young woman, hearing his confusion, turned to him with a look of utter shock, asking if he truly didn't know of Soraka. He, however, remained bewildered, internally questioning if she was truly that famous, admitting he had no idea who she was. She continued her explanation, detailing the history of a legendary stalker who had pursued her target for over 5 decades, maintaining her daily training even past marriageable age, ultimately becoming the undisputed top of the stalking world. The young man tied beside her listened, utterly perplexed. She then revealed that this formidable individual was the chairman of the Japanese National Stalking Society, or ST Society, for short. The young man, still bound, reacted with shock at the very notion of such an organization, while a stern-faced woman confirmed that this was indeed their objective. The stern-faced woman, now identified as Yujui, introduced herself as the chairman, noting that some respectfully referred to her as master, though she mused if simply chairman wouldn't suffice. Yujui's expression darkened, her anger flaring as the girl addressed her casually as Yi-san, expressing eagerness to work together without using the honorifics of chairman or master. The tied young man observed the escalating tension. Undeterred by Yujui's reaction, the girl continued, praising Moko and referring to her as Cyclope-san, acknowledging her as the mysterious newcomer who had won the previous year's tournament despite being a first-timer. The young man remained utterly bewildered. Yujui then questioned why the girl, who had declared her retirement after her victory, was now returning. The girl admitted that she had become overconfident, perhaps even being discovered by her prey for an entire year, and recently, 2 individuals had found her out. She concluded that she was simply too inexperienced. With renewed determination, the girl declared her intention to re-enter the tournament to hone her stalking abilities, stating her current stalking power was 30,000. The young man, still tied, could only stare in disbelief at the bizarre concept of such immeasurable power. Yujui encouraged the girl, calling her Cyclops, to strive for victory once more, revealing her own formidable stalking power of 530,000. Overwhelmed by the absurdity of the conversation, the young man attempted to quietly slip away, realizing he could not keep up with their strange world. Suddenly, the girl turned to him, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm, calling him Sorakun and urging him to do their best together. He was utterly flustered, realizing he had not been a part of the conversation at all. Still tied to her, he questioned her desperation, feeling that there were many things wrong with her statement. She, however, confidently replied that there was no problem, for wherever Sorakun was, she would be. He was still contemplating escape, specifically to attend another Idol Live event. His captor, new__character__J, looked at him with a mixture of surprise and disbelief, questioning if he truly harbored such thoughts. She reassured him, stating she wouldn't go anywhere and that having him, Sorakun, by her side was like having 100 fans. He, still bound, then questioned her need to win the tournament if she had already been a victor last year. Suggesting it should be an easy feat, she clarified that her victory last year was not by a significant margin, emphasizing her need to increase her stalking power. She then pointed out a formidable competitor nearby, a girl with numerous piercings, whose displayed stalking power registered at an astonishing 28,000. He was utterly shocked to learn that this competitor, known as Piercing-san, was a prodigy whose specialty involved eavesdropping and meticulously recording every single syllable her target spoke. He couldn't help but wonder if such an extreme method was truly a positive attribute. As he processed this information, new__character__J observed Piercing-san, noting her intense glare that deterred anyone from approaching. Piercing-san, seemingly annoyed by the surrounding chatter, declared her inability to focus and decided to do a shot, placing her headphones over her ears. As she put on her headphones, Piercing-san closed her eyes, a voice echoing in her mind, telling her she looked great and proposing marriage after her victory. Still bewildered by the unfolding events, he turned to new__character__J, asking what Piercing-san was doing. New__character_J looked back at him, her expression one of slight surprise. She clarified that Piercing-san had likely completed her collection of her target syllables, a process she had mentioned earlier. It seemed the competitor had finally achieved her goal. A commentator, identified as Commentator Cyclops, explained that Piercing-san had created a song, a Target Lloyd, using the collected sound bits, intending it as a mental boost. He, however, found the name, Target Lloyd, to be terrible. As the song played, Piercing-san collapsed to her knees, overwhelmed, declaring her love. The commentator observed that despite her intimidating appearance, Piercing-san was actually quite pure, and the love song had an unexpected, opposite effect, providing her with a powerful mental boost. She was still reeling from her own song when a familiar voice cut through the air, mocking her appearance and asking if she had gained weight. It was Moko, who then declared this was no high school reunion. Piercing-san, enraged, screamed back at the one-eyed bastard, asserting she could hear everything Moko was saying. The verbal assault was immediately followed by a physical one as Moko lunged, grabbing Piercing-san and demanding she listen to a voice clip. Piercing-san struggled, yelling for Moko to get off her, while Moko praised the amazing voice clip. Still struggling, Piercing-san tried to push Moko away, questioning her behavior and declaring she had no intention of getting close. She insisted that the voice sample Moko held was hers. Moko, however, held onto Sorakun, who was caught in the middle, looking bewildered. Moko, maintaining her grip, calmly advised Piercing-san to settle down, warning her that she would be caught in Cyclops' pace if she didn't. Piercing-san glared, still agitated. As the commotion continued, a new competitor entered the scene, Landmine, a girl with an imposing presence and a stalking power of 27,000. She was identified as Trichophagic Landmine-san, a term that left Sorakun utterly confused. Moko, now addressing Landmine, expressed her initial thought that she and Piercing-san would be the sole winners this year. However, she conceded that with One Eye Cyclope-san also present, the competition would be different, hinting at a new strategy. Landmine, observing Sorakun's confusion, asked if he truly didn't know what trichophagia was. He admitted his ignorance, prompting her to elaborate. She explained that trichophagia was the academic term for the consumption of hair, a concept normally unknown to most people. To illustrate, Landmine then pulled a strand of hair from her bunny doll and, with a disturbing intensity, placed it into her mouth. Sorakun watched in horror as Landmine continued to chew, making garbled noises, and declared that by absorbing the extracts into her body, she could reveal her true strength. The grotesque display caused Piercing-san to gag, complaining that the hair was stuck on her uvula, while Sora-kun, utterly disgusted, wondered aloud if any respectable people existed in this world. He could barely comprehend the situation, expressing utter disbelief that Landmine could even hope to finish the competition with such a bizarre method. Yet, Landmine herself remained unfazed, a confident smile gracing her lips as she declared her victory assured. As the unsettling revelation lingered, Yujui desperately tried to restore order, calling out to everyone to quiet down, reminding them that he had already asked them to do so repeatedly. Moko and Piercing-san stood nearby, observing the chaotic scene. His frustration mounted as he realized he couldn't even begin to explain the rules amidst the ongoing pandemonium, lamenting that he felt like nothing more than a background character in the unfolding drama. Sora-kun and Moko continued to react to the bizarre circumstances. A young woman with short blonde hair, her face contorted in a furious snarl, launched herself through the air, aiming a powerful kick at a dark-haired young man. She screamed for him to rot in hell, but he deftly dodged the assault, causing her to crash into a nearby building with a loud thud. Undeterred, she quickly recovered, impressed by his agility, but warned him that her next attack would not be so easily evaded. A few minutes prior, a bespectacled man with dark hair, holding a megaphone, addressed a group of students, announcing the 58th No. 1 Stalker Battle. He prepared to explain the rules of the competition. As he spoke, a young woman with braided pigtails elaborated on the competition structure, stating that participants would compete in 3 areas: stealth, observation, and physical stamina, the essential skills for any stalker. She then revealed that the first person to pass all checkpoints and reach the finish line would receive a luxurious prize. Among the listeners were the dark-haired young man, Sora, the blonde-haired attacker girl, and a dark-haired maid girl who appeared visibly distressed. Sora, still processing the information, wondered aloud what the prize had been last year, questioning if it was something trendy. The explainer girl cheerfully revealed that the previous year's prize had been tapioca. The group, including Sora, the explainer girl, the attacker girl, a tall boy with light hair, and a muscular boy, discussed the previous prize, with one of them suggesting that this year's prize might be something equally trendy, like nata de coco. Suddenly, a booming announcement declared that this year's ultimate prize would be the Book of Secrets, a tome said to contain all the secrets of stalking. Sora reacted with surprise, noting the significant upgrade from tapioca. The explainer girl, her eyes gleaming, declared that they couldn't afford to lose, while the attacker girl, clearly fired up, told others to buzz off. The maid girl, however, seemed confused, questioning if the Book of Secrets was merely an old lady's diary. Despite her protests, the announcer commanded everyone to take their positions, and with a resounding start, the competitors began to run. As the others sprinted away, the attacker girl, already ahead, called out to Sora, urging him to hurry. He, however, remained rooted in place, looking utterly bewildered, while the maid girl crouched beside him, seemingly overwhelmed by the sudden chaos. He found the maid girl still at the starting line, distressed and coughing, clutching her throat. She explained that a hair was stuck, causing her discomfort. He asked if she wasn't going to start the competition. He watched her, a worried expression on his face, realizing he couldn't simply abandon her in such a pitiful state. He acknowledged that such an incident was bound to happen eventually, and began searching his bag for something to help. With a gentle gesture, he extended a bottle of water towards her, offering it if she didn't mind. She looked up, her eyes still watering from the discomfort. She accepted the bottle, and he clarified that he had already drunk from it, but suggested rinsing her mouth might be a good idea. She then took a gulp, gargled, and spat, attempting to dislodge the obstruction. As she held the bottle, a strange thought crossed her mind. Why was this person, whom she had only just met, being so kind to her? He then confirmed that the hair was finally out. He beamed a wide, relieved smile spreading across his face, declaring that everything was good now. She, however, felt a blush creep onto her cheeks, a conflicting thought forming in her mind. This was bad, especially since she already had someone she loved. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the competition, Explainer Girl and Attacker Girl continued their run. Explainer Girl remarked that Sora was not a stalker, so his absence was not surprising. Attacker Girl noted that Landmine and her companion had not yet appeared. Explainer Girl confirmed that Sora was indeed her prey. Attacker Girl, surprised by this revelation, began to fidget nervously, prompting Explainer Girl to inquire about her discomfort. Still fidgeting and coughing slightly, Attacker Girl explained that bringing one's prey to this competition carried significant implications, asking if it was because of that. Explainer Girl, confused, asked for clarification. She covered her face, a deep blush spreading across her cheeks as she heard the words, "You and that guy are lovers, right?" The sudden question made her exclaim, "Ah, you made me say it." Despite the implication, Explainer Girl, walking alongside Sora and Attacker Girl, clarified with a smug expression that, in fact, they had no romantic feelings for each other. Attacker Girl, looking surprised, echoed the sentiment, stating, "No, not at all. Sora Coin and I are not lovers, you know?" She continued, explaining that their relationship was more of a mutual give-and-take kind of arrangement. Attacker Girl, still looking annoyed, questioned the nature of such a relationship. Explainer Girl then detailed Sora Amano's girlfriend application requirements, which included being 15 to 26 years old, female, unmarried, a healthy woman, and a Moko fan of Sora. She declared that she would welcome it if someone met these specific conditions. Attacker Girl, blushing again, wondered if she would be fine with it if Sora got a girlfriend, then quickly became annoyed, stating she didn't quite understand, but didn't want to hand over her prey to anyone. As Attacker Girl fumed, Explainer Girl, with a knowing smile, leaned in to whisper that Sora and she were connected by a bond deeper than any romantic relationship. Attacker Girl, clearly pissed, could only utter a confused huh. Her anger flared as she retorted that Explainer Girl's words were completely wrong. She then questioned if Explainer Girl was subtly dissing those who had romantic feelings for their prey but couldn't be with them. The frustration boiled over and she clenched her fist, her knuckles cracking as she declared, "You really piss me off, One Eye." Without warning, she lunged, tackling Explainer Girl to the ground, threatening to take her down right then and there. Explainer Girl, caught off guard, cried out in surprise, trying to explain that there was a misunderstanding. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Sora found himself in an awkward situation, sweating profusely, as Maid Girl clung tightly to his arm. He politely asked her for some space, referring to her as Landmine San, but she innocently questioned why. He struggled to walk with her attached to him, letting out a sigh of relief when she finally loosened her grip slightly. However, she immediately asked if he needed more, then stumbled, causing them both to fall, much to his dismay. As he lay there, Maid Girl looked up at him, her cheeks flushed, asking if her actions were no good. Her words, combined with her close proximity, struck him like a series of sharp blows, leaving him flustered and overwhelmed. He recoiled further, startled by the intensity of the moment, as she continued to cling to him, asking what was wrong. As his heart pounded, he realized the gravity of the situation, internally questioning if she was one of those landmine-type girls who could make themselves appear cute like idols, and that he had mistakenly thought everything was fine. He reflected on his usual strategy for meeting idols, where he would equip his otaku heart as a defense to avoid falling for their cuteness. But now, with ordinary people, his basic defenses were completely exposed, and he felt vulnerable. Now on the ground, he looked at her, realizing the situation had escalated, and internally panicked about the possibility of going bald, wondering if she was truly a stalker who eats hair. Overwhelmed by the revelation, he decided to flee, running away as fast as he could, while she called out to him, asking his name and where he was going, telling him to look it up himself if he was a stalker. Meanwhile, the struggle between Attacker Girl and Explainer Girl continued, with Explainer Girl still on the ground, groaning in discomfort. Attacker Girl continued her assault, laughing maniacally and declaring at the end for One Eye, while Explainer Girl cried out in distress, resisting the bohemian attack. Sora, witnessing the bizarre scene, could only wonder what was happening, finding it incredibly cringe-worthy. Suddenly, Sora felt something, reacting with surprise. He then looked dumbfounded as he plucked a strand of hair from his own head, questioning if this was stalking or a gathering of mentally ill fifth graders. Maid Girl, having acquired a strand of Sora's hair, held it delicately, her expression a mix of shyness and curiosity. She confessed to being curious about the taste of his hair, then proceeded to chew on it with a soft munching sound. As she continued to chew, Sora, horrified, cried out for her to stop, while Explainer Girl, observing the bizarre act, simply uttered a sound of disgust. Maid Girl, however, found the hair quite tasty. Explainer Girl, witnessing the scene, remarked that Landmine Maid Girl seemed to have taken a liking to Sora, predicting he would surely go bald. Meanwhile, Attacker Girl, with a mischievous grin, declared that the guy was in trouble and that she would die of embarrassment, while Sora, clutching his head, removed his headphones in distress. Still reeling from the bizarre events, Sora was suddenly embraced by Explainer Girl, who assured him that even loose hair was fine to eat. He tried to process the situation, realizing this girl was. But before he could finish the thought, she snatched a remote control from his hand, declaring it was hers. With the remote now in her possession, Explainer Girl smiled sweetly, pressing a button that emitted a beep sound. She then asked Sora if they should go, her demeanor suggesting a strange sense of control over the situation, which Sora found incredibly cringeworthy. She then began to lead a dazed Sora away, prompting Attacker Girl to angrily demand that One Eye give back her weapon, insisting that Sora be returned to her. The entire chaotic scene was observed by Yujui, who sighed, lamenting that the kids seemed to have forgotten this was a race. Meanwhile, Attacker Girl, still furious, dashed off in pursuit, urging herself to hurry up and catch One Eye. A whimsical announcement declared the commencement of the 58th Stalker Battle, inviting all to come join us and become number one. Moments later, Sora stirred, his memory hazy as he tried to recall meeting One Eye-san. He felt a strange sensation, a wave of goosebumps spreading across his body, prompting him to wonder if something had happened. Explainer Girl, noticing his awakening, asked how he was feeling, while Sora internally questioned the sudden, slow pace of events. She, seemingly unfazed by his confusion, declared him to be in good shape and urged him to move forward. Sora, however, continued to ponder if having goosebumps was now his default state, a thought he quickly dismissed. Meanwhile, Maid Girl expressed her concern, stating that Sora's condition was only true for chicken, implying it was not a good sign for a human. Attacker Girl, however, tried to reassure her, suggesting that if the bumps were turned into teriyaki, they would be delicious and that Sora would be smooth again by the time he married, though she admitted it sounded rough. As the conversation continued, Explainer Girl pulled Sora along, urging him to hurry. Attacker Girl, observing their haste, questioned if Explainer Girl was being overly aggressive in her actions. Suddenly, Sora stumbled, bumping into something on the ground. He quickly realized it was a person, exclaiming in surprise at the unexpected encounter. Looking around, Sora was shocked to discover numerous injured participants scattered across the area. Explainer Girl calmly explained that these were the individuals who had been bounced off at the checkpoint. He, still processing the sight, questioned the meaning of checkpoint. Explainer Girl confirmed his understanding, pointing towards a structure in the distance, a bridge with a sign that read "Erase thy presence, Tio." Cross the bridge. Standing before the ominous checkpoint, a bridge that marked the entrance to endless sales stock hell, Sora and Explainer Girl were joined by several other participants, including a tall girl holding a ball, a muscular boy, and a boy in a suit, all facing the challenge ahead. He found himself amidst a diverse crowd, observing individuals from various professions: a scout, a pimp, a fortune teller, a tissue fixer, and a pot dealer. He wondered why people from such different industries were gathered here. As he pondered, a dark, menacing aura emanated from the announcer and Explainer Girl, who glared intensely. Explainer Girl then turned to him, asking if he wanted to try, while he internally questioned why these people would be eliminated. He felt a growing unease, wondering what she truly meant. The crowd pressed in on him, their voices a cacophony of offers. The scout offered to hook him up with a cute girl, the tissue fixer asked if he needed tissues, and the pot dealer enthusiastically presented a pot, claiming it was a famous handcrafted item from France, a place where even minors could enjoy peace of mind, and that just looking was free. He felt overwhelmed by the relentless pressure. The sheer force of the crowd's aggressive sales tactics sent him reeling backward, a cry escaping his lips as he was physically pushed away. He struggled to comprehend the situation, admitting he still didn't understand. Explainer Girl, stepping closer, explained that the pressure he felt was akin to facing 100 sumo wrestlers, and that this place required the basic skill of stalking, being stealthy. She further illustrated her point, explaining that without stealth, one could easily lose sight of their target while pursuing them, becoming distracted by a sales talk and ultimately losing the prey. This skill, she emphasized, was crucial to avoid such a tragedy. He considered her words, thinking it was more of a tragedy for the person being pursued, but decided against voicing that thought aloud. Explainer Girl then addressed the entire group, declaring that they would break through in their own way. Maid Girl, clutching her plushie, added that being able to erase one's presence was a third-rate skill. With a determined, "Let's go," explainer girl led the charge, the group moving forward with a swift motion. Sora, still looking somewhat bewildered, followed behind. As attacker girl stepped forward, a smirk playing on her lips, she declared herself the first batter. Meanwhile, the announcer, the mysterious man, and the mysterious woman observed from a distance, their expressions unreadable, as Sora wondered what kind of challenges awaited them. A young woman with light hair, adorned with earrings, turned sharply, her expression one of utter annoyance. She had just been approached by another girl, who, with a wide smile, presented a simple pot, claiming that merely touching it would increase one's happiness level by 10%. The annoyed woman simply uttered, her annoyance intensified, her eyes narrowing with a fierce glare. She internally questioned the audacity of someone believing she would fall for such a trivial offer, scoffing at the idea of needing a mere pot to improve her mood. She then turned her back on the smiling vendor, dismissing her with a sharp TCH, declaring that she would not speak to her again. The vendor, undeterred, simply stated, "Understood." "Good." Meanwhile, a boy nearby, witnessing the exchange, offered a meek, "I'm sorry," while a smaller boy looked on. The annoyed woman, holding a ball, retorted that she was not a first-rate stalker, but rather a first-rate thought. Elsewhere, explainer girl observed the scene, remarking that the method of pursuit no longer mattered as long as the objective was met. Maid girl, standing beside her, conceded that the stalker clearly stood out and was far from subtle, but acknowledged that describing her actions as stealthy was indeed difficult. She concluded that it was a half-assed competition. As these events unfolded, fortune-teller girl watched with growing concern, lamenting that the stalker seemed to be losing even before she truly began, calling her a poor thing. However, the stalker nearly smirked, a menacing aura emanating from her as she dismissed the onlookers as a bunch of spineless cowards. Fortune-teller girl, still distressed, clutched her chest, recalling the words of her grandmother, a fortune-telling master. She remembered her grandmother's advice, "If ever in trouble, just say yes, grandma, let's try it." She wondered if her piercings, perhaps a metaphor for her emotional defenses or vulnerabilities, would break through in this situation, trying to calm herself. Suddenly, fortune-teller girl let out a piercing scream, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. She tightly clenched a bracelet, as if it held the key to her breakthrough, repeating the word bracelet with newfound intensity. Moments later, the stalker and fortune-teller girl stood back to back, a silent tension hanging between them, their expressions unreadable as they faced opposite directions. Despite the earlier confrontation, the two girls were now holding hands, both appearing utterly exhausted and sleepy. From an unseen location, the grandmother's voice boomed, expressing gratitude and revealing the bracelet's exorbitant price, 10,000 yen for one. The stalker, who had initially feigned disinterest, suddenly perked up, asking, "How much?" As the stalker and fortune-teller girl concluded their interaction, maid girl stepped forward, holding a small, plush rabbit toy. She declared that it was her turn next, while the apologetic boy, having seemingly made a purchase, looked on, acknowledging that some individuals become useless when it comes to romance. She held the gleaming scissors perilously close to Sora's head, his eyes wide with shock and fear. Despite his terror, she remained composed, explaining that no one would die, but implying something significant was about to happen. Just then, two aggressive figures, the self-proclaimed Seipon brothers of Kabukicho, interrupted, boasting that once they bit, they wouldn't let go. They warned her not to underestimate them, claiming they had a part-time job to finish quickly, and demanded she listen to them. She, however, simply scoffed, dismissing their threats. In a shocking display of resolve, she swiftly brought the scissors to her own head, severing a lock of her long hair. The two brothers, caught off guard by her extreme action, were instantly defeated, sent flying through the air, their heads now completely bald. Sora watched, utterly horrified by the sudden, brutal turn of events. Turning to Sora, she offered a bright, encouraging smile, declaring that it was now their turn to break through. He, still visibly shaken by the sight of the bald brothers, could only stammer in disbelief. She then pulled him up, urging him to stand, despite his protests and reluctance. She insisted he couldn't miss the chance to win by taking it easy, questioning if he thought she was taking it lightly. As they walked, a murmur spread among the other participants. Some commented that she wasn't supposed to be coming this year, while others recognized her as the winner from the previous year, expressing surprise at her presence. The observers continued their hushed discussions, wondering why everyone was so fired up, as one of the newly bald brothers stood among them, looking bewildered. She confidently gave Sora a thumbs up, assuring him everything would be fine and asking what he thought her dance lessons were for, though she internally admitted they were definitely not for this. He, however, remained hesitant, questioning if they were truly going to face those fired-up sumo wrestlers. With a graceful twirl, she began to dance, moving elegantly as if to pass through an unseen obstacle. Sora, watching her, pondered if her dance lessons were indeed the key to this new challenge. She turned to Sora, reassuring him that everything would be fine and he only needed to follow her from behind. With a determined stomp, she lowered herself into a ready stance, declaring their immediate start. Then, executing her secret technique, pursuing steps, she launched forward, dragging a bewildered Sora behind her by a rope, much to the surprise of attacker Girl 1. She celebrated their safe passage, exclaiming that all her dance lessons had been worth it, while he, still being dragged, cried out, questioning the origin of her unique dance style. Moments later, he lay on the ground, gasping and coughing, utterly exhausted. She knelt beside him, her expression concerned, asking if he was all right. As he struggled to recover, Attacker Girl 1 and Explainer Girl 1 arrived, observing the scene. Attacker Girl 1 commented that anyone would be fine, but then questioned the situation. Still sprawled on the ground, he cried out in frustration, demanding to know if he hadn't been stealthy at all, not even once. A whimsical depiction of the trio in stealth mode appeared, with him internally questioning if he truly had to endure such a spectacle. Originally, the protagonist had no particular interest in idols. He spent his days without any particular interest, even as his friend was obsessed with idols. When asked if he was passionate about anything else, he simply replied, "Not really." However, when she first encountered Moko, seeing her desperately singing and dancing, a warmth spread through her heart. At that moment, she realized there was something she too could be passionate about, and it filled her with happiness. Meanwhile, an announcer enthusiastically declared the arrival of the final checkpoint, a challenge designed to make participants stand out with your observation skill. She explained that those who answered 3 questions correctly would advance. She observed the lineup of participants, which now included 4 new arrivals, as the quiz continued. Despite the new faces, she felt the additions had little to do with the core challenge. The final checkpoint continued, with questions presented one after another. Participants, having overcome numerous trials, were instructed to answer quickly by pressing their buzzers. She continued to press forward, successfully answering questions and moving toward the goal. Meanwhile, her fellow participant, Sora, appeared distressed, struggling to keep up with the rapid-fire quiz. She remained focused, her expression determined, as the other participants around her chattered. One girl mused about the delicious appearance of someone's hair, while another declared her intent to answer 3 questions first. Meanwhile, Sora, looking utterly worn out, pondered if this was truly a competition to get ahead of others. He felt a wave of gloom wash over him, realizing this unexpected quiz was testing an observation skill, the ability to not miss any chances in a prey. He chastised himself for not grasping this immediately. Elsewhere, 2 other participants observed Sora. One remarked that he must be quite capable if he was present, while the other noted with concern that the winners from last year had caught up to them, suggesting a difficult challenge ahead. As the quiz master, Yujui, dramatically announced the start of the competition, urging everyone to look at the first question, Sora felt a surge of anxiety. He realized they were all expecting something significant from him. The first challenge appeared, a photograph of a man in a white coat, standing outside a building. The question demanded to know which station was nearest to him. With the question displayed, the announcer called for the participants to get ready, their fingers hovering over their buzzers. He quickly pressed his buzzer, confident in his answer. The announcer, addressing him as Cyclops Praysan, asked for his response. Sora declared, "He'd send you station." He wondered if it was too obvious to be the correct answer. However, his answer was incorrect. The announcer explained that the quiz wouldn't be that simple, urging him to try again. Immediately, the girl known as Landmine-san, Stalker_Girl_1, buzzed in. She correctly identified the station as Saka Station, leaving Sora shocked and wondering how she knew. She then explained that without being misled by the station the man was in, she noticed his commuter pass, which clearly indicated Saka as his destination. He stood, chastised, muttering an apology. The announcer, Yujui, then emphasized the true purpose of the observation quiz, ensuring he understood the depth of observation required. As the next question was posed, Yujui, clearly enjoying the challenge, again presented the same man. This time, the question asked for his family structure. Before the words fully left her mouth, she wasted no time, her hands slamming down on the buzzer. She continued her explanation, detailing the items the old man had purchased. A sweet popular among junior high and high school girls, 3 packets of retort curry, and a supplement for women in their 50s. Based on these observations, she concluded that the man was part of a family of 3, with a wife and a daughter. The announcer quickly confirmed her answer, declaring it correct. She confidently stated her full answer, which the announcer immediately confirmed as correct. The announcer then urged the other participants to do their best, lamenting that the game was impossibly difficult. The announcer moved swiftly to the next question, declaring it the final showdown. Sora, drenched in sweat, felt a rising panic, realizing he would not be able to escape if he failed to provide the correct answer. The new question presented 2 images of the same man, labeled before and after, challenging participants to identify the subtle difference between them. The announcer noted that this was less an observation quiz and more a test about the man himself. Sora stared in bewilderment, wondering why they were being shown mere variations of the old man's suit. Just then, stalker_girl_1 buzzed in, and the announcer prompted her to give her answer. She calmly explained that the man had separated from his wife, citing the change from a supermarket bag to a convenience store bag, the loss of gloss in his hair, the dark circles under his eyes, and the wrinkles on his suit as evidence of his worn-out state. The announcer immediately confirmed her answer as correct. Sora gasped, realizing he was truly falling behind. Stalker_girl_1, though acknowledging she had answered correctly, admitted she truly did not want to know such sad personal details about the old man. The announcer once again praised her for another correct answer. He felt utterly helpless, wishing he were with people he knew rather than being left alone with strangers. He understood that this quiz was far from straightforward and resolved to make educated guesses to proceed. Stalker_girl_1 then turned to Sora, asking if he was worried about her, noting his pause. He vehemently denied it. The announcer, referring to her as One Eye, inquired if her prey was all right, then questioned if it was difficult for someone who wasn't a stalker. Sora swallowed hard, while she, with a slight blush, reassured the announcer that he was very adaptable and would be fine, so there was no need to worry. She had expressed confidence in his adaptability, and now, with a renewed sense of determination, Sora focused his gaze, ready to tackle the next question of the challenging quiz. The next image for the observation quiz appeared, depicting a man in pajamas seated on a couch, holding a cup. The announcer's voice boomed, demanding the participants identify the differences between this picture and the previous ones. As the question was posed, Sora immediately noticed something amiss, realizing the shot was taken indoors, making it impossible to observe from a hiding spot. Yet, before he could fully process it, Stalker_girl_1 confidently declared the picture was taken using a hidden camera, earning praise from the announcer. Her bold claim left Sora and the other students, Maid Girl, Attacker Girl, and Explainer Girl, exchanging looks of doubt and confusion, wondering if such an answer could truly be correct. Despite their doubts, she confidently asserted her correctness, revealing that she herself had set up the hidden camera. The other students reacted with a mixture of shock and disbelief at her audacious methods. Her moment of triumph was abruptly interrupted as a police car screeched to a halt nearby. Unfazed, she merely smiled, pleased with her performance and Sora's expected adaptability. The police car's arrival brought forth a stern-faced man who identified himself as Police Inspector Higano Masayoshi. He immediately confronted Stalker_girl_1, showing his badge and accusing her of unlawful entry, leaving the students bewildered by the sudden turn of events. He then gathered the students, including Sora, Stalker_girl_1, Maid Girl, Attacker Girl, Explainer Girl, and New_boy_1, lining them up as if preparing to take them to the station. As they were led towards the patrol car, a startling realization dawned upon Sora, Maid Girl, Attacker Girl, and Explainer Girl. The man from the quiz pictures was none other than the police inspector himself. He then instructed them to get into the patrol car. Inside the car, The inspector pressed them for answers, questioning their relationship with Yujui, stalker_girl_1, and their involvement in what he referred to as the quiz competition, leaving the students flustered and struggling to respond. Inspector Higano Masayoshi listened intently as the students, including Sora, attacker girl, explainer girl, and maid girl, insisted they had merely been present by chance, denying any deeper involvement in the incident. After their brief questioning, he dismissed them, and they watched the police car carrying stalker_girl_1 drive away with a rumble, leaving them behind in the aftermath. And so, the bizarre stalker battle concluded with stalker_girl_1's arrest. Even as she was driven away in the police vehicle, she maintained a defiant, almost playful demeanor, offering a peace sign to her surroundings. Meanwhile, somewhere else in Tokyo, a smartphone displayed a flurry of social media comments, many of them critical, questioning the sanity of those involved and comparing two idols, Mihiro and Moko, with strong opinions. The idol Mihiro, identified as rookie idol ranked 6 at age 14, reacted with visible frustration and anger to the comments she was seeing. Her expression contorted in disbelief. Her manager, observing her distress, looked up from his own phone, where he had been reading similar comments, specifically one stating that, between Moko and Mihiro, it seems like Moko is overwhelmingly more talented. He then asked her what was wrong. Mihiro's rage intensified as she continued to read the harsh comparisons, feeling that the difference between her and Moko was like heaven and earth, and that she was perceived as fake, seeing fans merely as ATMs. She finally erupted, shouting at her manager to stop reading the cruel comments aloud, expressing her deep resentment at being constantly compared to Nanami Moko. The manager, holding a document, then revealed that he had not yet told her about a new plan. Mihiro, still agitated, questioned him about what plan he was referring to. He presented a flyer for Nanami Moko and Mihiro's joint live and fan meeting, featuring both idols and the tagline, "Let's make Omuras together," revealing the unexpected collaboration. He informed Mihiro that despite the inevitable comparisons to Nanami Moko, the joint event schedule was already set. Mihiro, initially wide-eyed with shock, quickly composed herself. A determined, almost unsettling smile spread across her face as she declared her intention to utterly crush Nanami Moko at the event.